All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL props video. Could we touch on the top prop bets that we have available for this Thursday night matchup between the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Now, obviously, I'm having a little bit of fun at the expense of this game with the over and under set at 30. It's going to be an ugly game, most likely, and it is a 6-point spread in favor of the Steelers winning, which, all in all, do we really trust Mitchell Trubisky that much? We will see. Kind of a fascinating, that's the wrong word. I don't know what the correct word is, but it is an interesting thought process type game. And we'll touch on that in a second here. A lot of that is actually going to be due to the amount of injuries that are occurring on both sides of the football. So for the New England Patriots, we need to get news on Demario Douglas' status. He is listed as out. That has not been confirmed just yet. Same thing with Keyshawn there. The reason why that's showing up is because it's a short week and whatnot. That's why. Devontae Parker currently questionable, Juju currently questionable. Those two are both expected to play, but we do know that Stevenson is going to be out in this game. And so when Stevenson left the game last week, we saw 90% of the snaps go to Zeke. And that's probably going to happen again, although the backup JaMychal Hasty could get some work as well. And we're assuming that it's going to be Bailey Zappe at the starting quarterback. We don't know for sure. Looking at the Steelers, we do know that Mitchell Trubisky is going to be starting at quarterback. Kenny Pickett's going to be out. Najee Harris has not practiced the last two practices. And so if he sits, someone like Jaylen Warren could be undervalued right now. And if we look at the projected starting lineups for both teams, it does seem like Douglas could sit, which really makes this slate more ugly. And we're probably, for like PrizePicks purposes, I don't know if Underdog does it, but for PrizePicks purposes where they typically will give us defensive fantasy score, we're probably going to be looking at both of them if they're under like 6.5 points. It's a fascinating, don't want to say fascinating again, it's a interesting kind of game theory type game that we have. Now let's go ahead and just take a peek at the snaps for both teams. Now Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, those two are going to play between 70 to 90% of the snaps. We know that. Looking at Pat Freiermuth, he's playing about 60% of the snaps coming back from that injury. That does make sense as well. Allen Robinson, only 53% of the snaps. I hope we continue to see other receivers worked in there, Calvin Austin specifically, but we might see a lot of 12 personnel even in this game. And I think that's part of the reason as to why it's going to be low over and under. These teams are going to try to rush the football. And so for what it's worth, we have seen Najee Harris continue to get his same amount of snaps for the most part, between like 52 to 65% of the snaps, and then Jaylen Warren filling in from there. Now, Najee Harris is currently listed as questionable. Again, Jaylen Warren could really go off. Then real quickly, I want to show you the Patriots snaps. Really, if Demario Douglas is out, that's going to really limit their offensive weapons. Juju looked terrible. He still played 90% of the snaps. That is not good for this offense. He looked bad. Tyquan Thornton did have a deep ball that he could have connected on that he was open for. Bailey Zappe just missed him in that game. And then Devontae Parker, yeah, he's the receiver number one if Douglas is out, which is extremely ugly. Like this offense, I joke to my friends that like this offense could honestly be the worst offense that we've seen in modern football in quite some time. Maybe if Zeke wasn't at running back, and I don't want to sound like I'm hyping up Zeke, but he has been good. You know, him and Stevenson have looked solid. But yeah, this offense sucks. All right, so when we look at the props that we're getting for this game right now, I am recording this Wednesday afternoon. Typically speaking, we have most of the props available. I think it's because of a lot of the injury situations that we don't have props. They just pulled the Jaylen Warren props, which is unfortunate. He is someone that I was thinking about betting the over receiving yards, even though the data wasn't saying so. That was at about 16, and they pulled them because Najee Harris is questionable, because obviously if he sits, that would obviously increase the likelihood of Jaylen Warren to get over his receiving yards. So that is going to be something to monitor. And for what it's worth, we have seen Jaylen Warren, I don't want to say get the same opportunities every game, but every game he's getting around 12 to like 17 opportunities and about 3 or so targets in the receiving game. On all, they're going to need to manufacture some touches this way in this really ugly type of game. And he is someone that I do think will have a good game, whether it be via the ground or via the passing game. Again, I was looking to bet his over receiving yards before we got the news that Najee Harris was potentially going to sit. Now, if he sits and we still get about the same line, you know, around 16, I think is what it was at, I'd be fine still betting the over. On all, it does cloud the situation for this game. And then with that, we've been getting Deontay Johnson receiving our receptions props. They started out at 3.5. They're at 4 on PrizePicks. You're going to see they're at 4.5 on Underdog. They don't know where to put the lines for this game. It makes sense. It's an ugly game, right? Now, you do expect Mr. Trubisky to get the ball to Deontay Johnson, but all in all, we can see why this is going to be an ugly game. Now, one of the prop bets that had a high likelihood to hit at the start of the week was Allen Robinson for under 1.5 reception. And I want to touch on that further. I'll go through all the key plays. But specifically Allen Robinson, it was kind of annoying because Trubisky actually kind of was really I don't want to say going out of his way to give him the football, but he was more involved than I really think Allen Robinson should be. Again, like Calvin Austin should be the player, I think, getting more work over Allen Robinson. They seem to just like Allen Robinson more. The pecking order to me should really be Deontay Johnson in the receiving game, and then really one of the running backs, and then Pickens, and then a big gap, and then Pat Freiermuth, and then whoever else. Like Robinson should not be getting 3 targets, but that's just it. He only has 3 targets in that game. The most targets he's gotten recently was 4. The most targets he's gotten all season was 9 and 8. So he's just really not getting that many targets. And in an ugly game like this, where I do think both teams are really going to try to ground and pound, that could be a situation where he really only does get 3 targets. And, Mitchell Trubisky throwing him the football, not a good thing. Maybe gets 1 reception, but it's going to be more difficult for him to get 2 receptions. So the next one is going to be Pat Freiermuth. And we can see that 2.5 receptions, they would heavily be favoring the over there. And that's why it's bumped up to 3. But because it's bumped up to 3, the under's kind of being favored. But this is really, I look at this as really just being favored as a push. Same thing with George Pickens, and let's touch on both of those. So Pat Freiermuth, since he has come back from injury, has been getting about 60% of the snaps or so. And he is someone that if this game is a run-heavy script like I think it's going to be, we might see, one of those little, or a few of those little plays where he's maybe blocking, and then releases, gets an easy kind of catch because the defenses, I think, are going to be keying in on the run. And so Freiermuth probably will get 3 receptions. I don't know if I want to touch the yards in this matchup. Like the Patriots defense has been pretty solid, and that's another element. And now it's a Thursday night game. Like the offenses shouldn't look good here. So I would probably agree that I'd want to be chasing the unders with Pat Freiermuth. Let me look at George Pickens. Yeah, if there's someone that should have a good game, it's Pickens. Like 3 receptions to me, I think I would be fine betting the over. I mean, this only has like a 52% chance, and this is basically being a push because, again, at 3.5, it's being heavily favored that the under's going to hit there. But all in all, the proper projection is 3 receptions. That being said, I probably would be favoring the over, whether that be receiving yards or receptions. And he's just someone that has been decently involved. I mean, that game against Cleveland, they're a good defense. Bengals, they're a pretty good defense. And so he was able to produce against them. The Packers we're seeing maybe are a good defense. Baltimore, good defense. Like Rams, fine defense. Raiders, fine. Like he has been able to produce against good defenses. So I'm not really too worried about that. The thing that we're obviously worried about is how worse Mitchell Trubisky will be throwing the football. And I don't know if he's going to be that much worse. I do think he's going to be a step down, but it's not going to be, I guess, as significant as maybe some other quarterback injury situations that we have seen. All in all, I'm fine with Pickens as a prop bet for the over if you're looking for one. Again, Allen Robinson we're seeing there. And then Deontay Johnson should be the favorite in terms of the most receiving yards. But what's been annoying about Deontay Johnson is he hasn't exactly been that target hog that we would want. And so that's where I'm struggling a little bit with him. And again, like you don't want to load up on too many of the pass catchers. So all in all, it might be a little bit too thin. And then just for what it's worth, I do want to touch on Najee Harris. Like it is a short week. Sure, he didn't practice today, but watching it, I didn't really see anything that would suggest that he was going to sit. I think that's just typical maintenance on a short week. And so I do expect him to play. What can we expect production-wise? Honestly, it's probably going to be closer to this Cleveland game. Really, it is. Cleveland's good defense. I think they're a comparable defense right now to the Patriots right now, especially with this offense looking as bad as it is. All in all, I don't mind Najee. He has played fine. He hasn't been the problem. Hasn't been the solution either, but we know that both him and Warren are most likely going to split. It's most likely going to be a 55 to 45 split. Again, I want to see Warren more involved in the rushing game, in the receiving game, and maybe Najee just continues to do what he's done on the rushing game. But again, this is going to be a run the clock game. Maybe we're looking at a field goal or something like that. Maybe the kickers have a good game, but I do really think it's going to be a defensive game, guys. So again, if the fantasy score is at 6.5, bet the over. Even if it's at 7, I probably would be fine betting the over there for the Steelers defense. We'll take a peek at Underdog, seeing if we're getting more props there than we are on PrizePicks. So we are. They have Deontay Johnson's receptions at 4. And again, this tells me that PrizePicks doesn't know what to do. They had it at 4.5. They have since taken that down. I'm fine betting the over 4 receptions for Deontay Johnson. Again, though, that's probably favored as a push, so I don't exactly like that. We're seeing that the Underdog line is at 41 for his receiving yards. Small difference there, but that can be the difference between a really good day and a really bad day, 1 yard. But all in all, again, we're not getting that many props there at all. Now, we do need to take a peek at Mitchell Trubisky's pass yards. And the way I want to look at it is by actually looking at Kenny Pickett. Now, it's a different offensive coordinator and whatnot. We don't really have a good feel for what's going to happen. But again, in some comparable matchups, Kenny Pickett really struggled to get over this line that we have. Baltimore, he got there. The Rams, he got there. But Jacksonville, Tennessee, Green Bay, Cleveland, he did not. Now, this whole offense had kind of a rejuvenation against the Bengals. Then against the Cardinals, which has been by far their easiest matchup lately, they were terrible. Now, again, it was a weird game. That's also what makes this game tough. That game against the Cardinals was just a weird game. Massive delays, kind of a tough watch, and you don't know how much of that was just due to the massive delay in the game. It's hard to stop and start. But yeah, at 181, I am kind of thinking that the under's going to hit simply due to the fact that I really think it's going to be Zeke getting 19 carries for like 50 yards, Najee Harris 16 carries for 40 yards, Jaylen Warren 6 carries for 40 yards or something weird like that. I think it's really going to be a ground and pound game. So with that, I don't think there's going to be that many opportunities to really throw the football downfield. And also, I don't think there's going to be that many pass attempts. Again, though, that's why we're not getting any of those other props, because we just don't know. Like, I don't think he's going to have a high completion percentage or high completion rate. Maybe he does complete easier passes because of it being a run heavy nature, and then you obviously have defenders keying in a little bit more on the run. That could happen, but I just don't think we're going to see a lot of areas. Now we'll stay with underdog and switch on over into the Patriots. Again, the Patriots offense is somewhat dictated by whether or not they have Demario Douglas. I don't think that we're going to get him. Well, I don't know. It's a concussion. You never know for sure. But if he's out, then Devontae Parker is going to be the receiver number 1, and that's obviously pretty ugly. Looking back, the Patriots made some of the worst decisions that you could make for a team by going after Juju and re-signing Devontae Parker, simply because you look at that rookie class. That rookie class is awesome. And they got one piece with Douglas, but man, it is really crazy how bad they've been decision making. I know a lot of people are saying in the media that, and I think it's just for buzz, that Bill Belichick should get fired. No, but yeah, he definitely shouldn't be the GM, I don't think. Or at least he can have a say, but he shouldn't have as much of a say as he has. I think that's pretty clear. I think that was pretty clear when Brady left. Like the roster has been terrible for some years, and it really has taken a drop off. They have not gotten better roster. I tease that they probably have one of the worst starting offenses ever in modern day football. Really, it's bad. Now, the one shining piece that they've had is kind of their ground game. Like Zeke, I thought was a terrible signing at the start of the season, but no, they actually made him look good. He has played. And with Stevenson out, I do expect him to get a lot of work. Now, Jermichael Hasty could get some work as well, but Stevenson, I think we're going to see him literally get like 22 opportunities in this one. Really just some short targets like Stevenson was doing. And really, I think this stat line that we have from him, this is going to be what we get. Literally 17 carries, 52 yards, maybe not as many receiving yards, but I think he's going to be, and I hesitate to say it's like the best offensive weapon in this game in terms of predictability. It's ugly. I kind of hesitate to say that, but he hasn't been bad. So all in all, he's probably the most favorable prop that we're going to get, especially because of the game projection. And so honestly, guys, like I think a good way to look at this is if we get like his receiving yards at really under 20, hammer that. Even if it's at like 30, I probably want to bet the over. Same thing with his rushing yards. If it's at like 50, I think I'd be fine betting the over there. It's going to be ugly. And maybe we just do rush attempts. I have no idea what the rush attempts prop would be at, but again, I think this is going to be a rush heavy game. Very fast game in the sense that the clock's just going to be running the whole time, and like probably 15 plus carries for Zeke. If we can get that number, I'd be fine betting the over there. But again, because it's early, we're not getting that. We are getting a rush yards prop here. 58 on PrizePicks, 58.5. I'd be fine betting the over there. I would say that this line that we're getting on Underdog is a little bit too high. Don't need to touch that. And then Bailey Zappe over touchdowns. I don't even know if it's been confirmed that he is going to be the quarterback. I mean, he did not look good. Maybe we see a little bit of Malik Cunningham. I doubt it. Oh, this is an ugly one too. What's his passing yards prop set at 155? I mean, that is crazy, right? I know it's a terrible offense, but like this defense with the Steelers isn't like elite by any means. They're solid, but for a quarterback to not be able to throw over 150 passing yards, that's insane. But he has looked bad. He has looked absolutely terrible. I think a good sign of how the NFL viewed Bailey Zappe as a quarterback is the fact that the Patriots released him at the start of the season on purpose because they knew no one would sign him. That's a pretty good sign of how bad the NFL thinks Bailey Zappe. And so all in all, I don't really want to touch his props either. Now, we should point out this game against the Chargers was an ugly game, partially due to weather. Okay, that's very much true. But I think this game will be ugly as well. So that's really all that we have for the Patriots props. Again, the injuries will dictate what happens there. I do want to take a peek at PrizePicks, and then I'll set you guys up for if-then statements. If Douglas is out, if he's in, what do we do? So yeah, right now, again, I think over rush yards for Zeke here makes sense. Other than that, probably stay away. So I had no idea when they'd be coming out with these props. That's kind of why I had to do this video this way. Okay, so Douglas has actually been ruled out. That actually ruins a video that I had scheduled to go live in about a half an hour here. Great. Okay. Yeah, Parker gonna get targeted heavily. Let's just show you guys the snaps again. So again, this was an ugly game weather-wise and whatnot, but we saw Thornton play 80% of the snaps again. He should have had a big catch down the field that was just missed. And then like Juju played a bunch of snaps, but really was a non-factor. Maybe a little bit of the revenge game narrative here. I don't think we're really caring about that, but Parker is going to be the next biggest pass getter. Like, honestly, I think it's going to be Zeke #1, which is already ugly enough. Maybe JaMychal Hasty gets mixed in there. We're not going to see Jalen Reagor, it seems. Mike Gesicki's not going to play a lot. Hunter Henry maybe will be involved, but we saw a lot of Farrell Brown because, again, run-heavy script. And I think we're going to see a lot of 12 personnel, so we're not going to see a lot of Hunter Henry catches. Maybe he catches some, but oh no, it's ugly. So, yes, Thornton will see his snaps. 1 target, 1 missed air yard, is going to probably get an end around. Farrell Brown played that much, guys, but look at this. I mean, he's been playing a lot more. 0 targets. That should tell you enough that you need to know. Hunter Henry's been playing a lot, but you can't really trust him to get a lot of work. I mean, if his receptions is set at 2.5, I guess I'd be fine betting the over at that. He should be able to get 3 receptions in this game. Might be ugly, might not be a lot of yards, but I would say the projection for his reception should be at 3. And then, yes, Devontae Parker, who's also currently questionable. And if he sits, oh, this game gets so much uglier. But again, he's going to have to get targets. He really is. He's the only one that looks somewhat decent. I mean, Jalen Reagor, maybe we see Ty Montgomery in the slot a little bit more. I doubt it, but you never know. Like, they almost need to get another playmaker out there. And at this stage of his career, I don't want to say Ty Montgomery's a playmaker, but all in all, I wouldn't be surprising to see him get some work more in the slot where he lines up as a running back and then, shifts out. But yeah, Parker, like, I'm sure his receptions prop will be set at 3.5 here. That would be correct. If it's not, bet the over. If it's at 3, bet the over. Chances are it'd be a push. Receiving yards probably should be set at around 40. Again, if it's not, bet the over there. Just massively ugly slate. And then again, I do think defense we're looking at. Again, if this is at 6.5, bet the over. Heck, if it's at 7.5, I probably would still be fine betting the over. But again, we're not getting those props. I don't even know if like the kicking prop would be a good one. So guys, with that, I wish I could give a bet of the day. I will be touching on this game a little bit more tomorrow. Not a little bit more, but I will highlight some of my favorite prop bets on it tomorrow morning, once we get more lines out for this. But wanted to have you guys be prepared for when prop bets do come out and when more injury news comes out, that you guys can be quick and respond to that properly. But that's gonna be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to give a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. Let's have a good slate. If you guys want access to the 95sports.com cheat sheet for both PrizePicks and Underdog, click the link in the description below. Available for $10 a month. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, let's keep cashing.